Hey guys, welcome back to our Real Love Scenario.
Welcome back.
Shout out to all our real lovers out there. We are back.
Hi, friends. So happy to be here with you.
So happy to be here. It's a beautiful day, beautiful summer day here in the DMV. No, we in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a difference.
We are in Baltimore. There's a difference.
There is a difference, guys.
There's a difference. Baltimore's been good to me, so shout out to Baltimore. We're happy to be here today. Oh, I'm going to do this. I wrote it down. Shout out to Amber.
Okay.
I met her at Law Society, and she said that she loved the show. And I was like, I'm going to start writing these people down. As soon as they tell me, I'm going to whip out my notes in my phone, and I'm going to write the name down. So, Amber, thank you. You are a certified real lover.
Shout out to you, Amber.
Appreciate you.
Big
and
hearts,
thank you
big
for
hearts.
listening or watching, whatever you do. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you, girly.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that so much. Well, I have a review this week.
Awesome.
It's like a review, sort of, kind of, but it was
listening.
really a private message that was sent, but it was singing our praises. So we want to share it and shout out Brittany, who I know is a big fan of the show, but just the network. She also really enjoys For the Girls as well.
Awesome.
So it says, hello, I want to try to make my best to make this quick, but so much of what you guys share on the podcast is so helpful. I want to say thank you from my heart as a single Black lesbian, single mom of 2. Although I'm not ready to date yet, when the time comes, I'm thankful to you and other resources that drop the jewels as you and Dre do. You hit on so much that I deal with women, and it's given very much. God didn't create me to be used and abused. So thank you.
No, he did not.
No, he did not. So thank you, Brittany. That was so sweet. We
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
you
Brittany.
sharing your thoughts and your love for us, and hopefully the jewels are helping you get ready, but take your time. You definitely shouldn't jump out there if you know you're not ready, but sending you best wishes that you'll get there soon.
No, we appreciate you. Thank you for writing in. You are a certified real lover.
For sure.
And I'm so excited because if you like our jewels, we got some guests coming up in this joint. We got some guests coming up in here that's going to really be dropping some
jewels. If you
jewels.
watching, you see me doing a little dance. If you listening, you just go on to YouTube and catch my little sway.
We got some guests. They're already confirmed. So we're excited. And the thing is that it's a plethora of guests and very diverse in ideology and ways that they think and different perspectives. So I'm excited for you to hear from the different guests that we have, because there's so many different walks of life and so many different people in different spaces. So you'll get a lot of different insight and perspective with who we have coming on.
And I think we also want to hear from you. Like, who do you think we should talk to?
Yes.
Like, send us your suggestions. You know where to find us on social media, and also to the Relationship Restored page. We would love your thoughts on who you think we should sit down and talk to. So many great people, and we all love talking about love, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I'm super excited about that.
Good.
So I want to jump into our real life love scenario.
Yeah.
So this one has been something that we have seen on a lot of different blogs or celebrity sites or all the stuff that
All
you
of
see,
them.
right? Is that Meg Thee Stallion is now out and about in her life.
Sorry,
And
I just
she
had to do
was spotted at a wedding off the coast of Lake Como or near Lake Como. And she was attending the wedding with a Belgian soccer player by the name of, I don't want to mess his name up, but Romelu Lukaku.
Sound about right.
Lukaku. And, it was one of those situations to where, how people scan a room where they really zoom in to one thing and a few different like phone videos. But it made me think of this question, which I always wondered and always thought about, but it was something that, I don't know, never was really answered in my head. So I just want to get your perspective on this.
Yeah.
Is somebody inviting you to a wedding, does that mean that they are taking you serious as somebody who they may want to have a future with, or are they just kind of filling the +1 void?
In my heart of hearts, as an old-fashioned girl.
Old-fashioned.
I would like to say
She's stalling. She's
I was
stalling.
stalling a little bit because I don't want to fall into the rabbit hole of like, to nowadays, these people, anything mean anything. But anywho, what I'm saying is old fashioned me would say, yes, that is a sign that a person kind of sees you seriously, especially if it's someone's wedding that who they're really close to, like best friend, maybe they're even in the wedding. But yes, I would say it could be a sign. But to go ahead on down that rabbit hole, it depends on the person. It depends on the person, because some people are just filling the +1 rabbit hole. They do just see this as like a social outing, and they were granted a +1, and they just want to have a good time that night. They don't want to go to the wedding by themselves. They want to have a partner to dance with for the night, to have some fun with for the night. So it could really just be a social engagement for them, and they don't actually think that seriously of you. So I just really say it depends on the person. If you're not already catching those vibes that they take you seriously before they invite you to a wedding with them, I wouldn't take it that seriously.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I also, if it were me, if I was invited to a wedding and I had a +1, if I was dating a guy but I didn't necessarily see a future with him yet, I would not take him with me to a wedding. Because I personally feel like it's too many things that happen at a wedding that give like those types of vibes. Like the couples come up on the floor, and it's like, I'm not getting up there and catching this, and then I just don't want to do all of that. You know, like I would rather take a girlfriend or a family member or somebody else that I can just have a good time with, but it's none of the pressures of like, we're here as an item. Yeah, no.
I got you. That is side note, that is one of the great things about being married, when they call all the people who ain't married up here, and you just like, I ain't got to drag myself up there. I'm good. You know, girls, they open to it, but when it's the gardener toss thing, like, it'd be like, nobody want to go out there.
I hate that dynamic. I'm not doing it at my wedding. Yeah, I'm not doing it at my wedding. I'm not tossing the bouquet. We didn't do a lot of traditional thing. We not tossing the garter. We're not doing that.
But I like your perspective on it.
I would love to hear yours.
I would say approach it, if you get invited to a wedding, I would say approach it as being cautiously optimistic. Don't say that. Don't think in your head this means something serious. Just say it's a good sign, possibly. Yeah. Because the issue is that you never know. Right. Because let me give you a scenario when it comes to a wedding.
Here we go.
Because this show is kind of about scenarios.
It is a little bit. Just a little bit.
Let's say that my friend from college is getting married. They invite me to the wedding. Hey, if you have a +1, let me know. Or you open to have a +1 to the wedding. Okay. Since this is a person that I went to college with and a friend from college, guess who's going to be there? A lot of people from college. Let's say my ex is part of that group of friends. I dated her when I was in college. So then we all became friends. Right. We are no longer together, but my ex is now attending. So I'm single. But it'd be nice to have a little something on my arm.
Flex on it.
You know what I'm saying? To say like, I'm still doing okay.
If we being honest.
I'm still doing okay.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm still, let me show you what I'm wearing with. So I might just try to invite the baddest joint I know.
Damn.
Or somebody who could just, look good on my arm. And you get an invite to the wedding. Hey, it's going to be dope. I'm selling it. Be whatever. It'll be a good time. Like, I would love for you to come. You may even tell her, we just go as friends, but they don't know. But anyways, that could be a situation where you get invited and you don't even know why you got invited or what the situation is. You might just happen to be coming because you really like the dude or something like that. But in all actuality, he just invited you to
flex on somebody else.
To flex on somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a possibility, and I've seen it happen.
That's a real lover pro tip. Dre just dropped the gym, and this is why, ladies, talking to my girlies out here, get y'all a good guy friend. Get y'all a good guy friend that's going to keep it 100 with you. Not the one that you used to sleep with, not your little friend with benefits, a straight up and down brother type of male friend, because they will hip you to certain game. And same for guys. Get you a good lady friend that nobody that you used to pop, none of that. Just it's just certain things that they will put you onto. And it's like, you would not know this type of stuff sometimes. You sitting over here, God bless us sometimes, us women. Ooh, Lord Jesus. You'll be over there like, girl, he invited me to his friend's wedding. And you like, your homeboy be like, all right, pipe it down. You don't know that means anything. You look good. He might just be flexing on somebody. You don't know. And listen, weddings are some of the best parties I have ever been to.
My wedding was lit.
Like I'm sad I missed it. I really, really am. But listen, weddings be fun as hell. And so sometimes you just inviting a person that you know you're gonna have a blast with. You may not even really like them like that, or you just like them like that at the moment. They are a fun person. Y'all could stop talking the week after the wedding.
Very true. It's seriously. Like inviting somebody to a party sometimes. Like literally, that's it. I don't talk to the girl I went to prom with. I don't even have her number. It was like some people feel like it's prom. Like you feel like you gotta attend a wedding sometimes with somebody, especially if all your friends got somebody, and you like, all right, let me look and see who I can. Maybe they don't really be having fun in environments like, oh, this the fun one. Yeah, I'm gonna invite the fun one out, and we just gonna have a good time. They good in social settings. Like it'd just be a good time.
Yeah.
And then you got people. Who was that? Like, I'm saying you don't know. Cautiously optimistic could
also not mean,
but it could also not mean that it's something.
Yeah, and God forbid you bring the girl and she catch the bouquet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Listen. So I don't know, y'all. Just the signs, the signs that used to be the clear-cut signs, they just aren't anymore. So you just have to have much stronger discernment on these types of things. When I saw the thing about Meg,
it'd be nice to have her on your arm, wouldn't it? It'd have people looking at you like,
okay. Yeah. When I saw the Megan Bromelu, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm so sorry. I just didn't think that much of it. I honestly didn't. Yes, it looks like they're dating, but does it mean that they're serious? I don't know. I have no idea. She just got out of a relationship that she was in for years. So he could be the rebound guy.
Maybe.
She could be the rebound girl. He also was in a relationship, had children with that woman. They could just be rebounding and having a really good time with each other. It could mean something. It could also mean absolutely nothing. So, yeah, proceed with caution.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into our real love scenario.
Let's do it. This week we are hearing from Anonymous. Anonymous says, hi, Rhonda and Dre. I'm new to your podcast. Welcome. I'm Jamaican born, but I currently reside in the U.S., so I need some advice with marriage. I have been with my husband for 17 years. We were high school sweethearts. We have been married for almost 8 years. I migrated to the U.S. back in 2017 for better career opportunities and, of course, financial stability. We agreed that after a year, he would move to the States. He has a great job back in Jamaica, and I do understand that it is hard moving away from what you know to start over in a foreign country where you have no family or friends or can identify with the culture. But it has been 6 years, and he has not decided to officially move to the States. We visit each other about 4 times for the year. 4 times for the year. And we try to do yearly vacations to other countries, but I think I'm just tired of living alone and being separated. I'm getting close to my 40s and I'm trying to be more settled and start my family, but I don't think I want a baby in this kind of family dynamic. I'm thinking to give him an ultimatum. Either he's going to move here officially or I'm filing for divorce because I feel like we could achieve so much more being together. And I also think that this is putting a massive strain on our marriage in terms of keeping our spark alive. What do you guys suggest I do?
Well, thank you, Anonymous, for writing in.
Thank you so much. Girl.
Rhonda, could you...
Girl. Girl is her, not Dre, obviously. Girl. What's your question, Dre?
Could you do it?
Hell to the absolutely no. Hell to the F no. What? I'm looking clean into the camera. No. N-O.
Dang,
I think that's the N.
Language.
It's either this one. I think it's this one. No.
She went sign language on you.
Child.
And she hit the child. That's how you know it's just.
It's overwhelming. This was a little over. This is a doozy for me.
Where you want to start with this?
Let me get professional and walk it back and let's do the normal unpacking that we do.
Yes.
They've been together for a very long time.
Yes, they have.
And I actually think that is potentially a part of the problem in this situation. Because she said they've been together for 17 years, right?
Yes.
And she's almost 40. That means that they likely started dating when they were in their either late teens or early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And these types of heavy conversations about living apart, going away for careers and all these other things, you don't normally think about that stuff.
Yeah, very true.
So I think where I want to start is there. When do you have these conversations about the possibilities of what your future could be with your partner? Like, do you talk about this pre-marriage in the early dating phases, or do you think you just kind of address it when it comes up? Because maybe it may not even be a thing.
I think you got to have this conversation in the beginning of the relationship, and not necessarily where do you want to be, or like you have to be here or you have to be there, but it's more of your willingness to be at a certain place or be in a certain location. But I think the question is more about, what do you ultimately want? What things do you value? Mm-hmm. And are we aligned on those things? Mm-hmm. I go back to what I always said, which is now one of my staples, is chemistry versus compatibility. Like, we can have great emotional chemistry and stuff like that, but are our lives compatible? Yeah. And one of my other things is that you have to be able to grow together as two wholes. So can I grow with this person? Yeah. Like Bree and I, we probably, if we were single, our lives and where we live, even if it's within the DMV, might be different. We might live in different spaces, but we've come to mutual agreements based off of what we both value and what we both want. Mm-hmm. So we both would love to have a place outside of the United States, probably in the Caribbean somewhere where it's nice, warm, there's water. Where that's going to be, we don't necessarily know. It might be the Dominican Republic where we got married. We really like Belize when we went there. So it's not us saying that this particular place is what we're going to do or where we're going to be at. Mm-hmm. It's just more of, these are the things that we value. Mm-hmm. We like being around our friends. We do understand that, you can move somewhere else and it can be cheaper, but like when we're free and not working, we like to hang out with the people that we want to hang out with and be around family and stuff like that. So I think that's more the conversation, because that's really, we're not addressing, when you're going through a relationship, the choices, we're addressing what leads to the choices. Mm-hmm. Like, the choices could change, but mainly the motive a lot of times doesn't actually change, or what somebody values or what somebody wants. It can change, but a lot of times those foundational things are the things that probably will stick the longest and will help you understand somebody's decision making, what they value. Do they care about money? Do they care about a look of something? Like, I know my wife, certain places we're not going to be able to move or live, because I know what her mindset is around like appearance and look and feel, how she feels driving into her neighborhood, how she feels. I know these foundational things about her, so she doesn't have to say, this particular place I won't live and this place I will live. Yeah. Just knowing that foundational thing, I understand a little bit more of her mindset, and then that helps me gauge. So that's more the conversation I would have in the beginning. Is more like, what do you value most and where you live? What's most important? What do you want to get out that space? And versus like, what country and city do you feel like makes the most sense to live in, and how long would you stay there?
Sure. I agree with you. And I like I said, I think the miss is that potentially by getting together so young, when so much of your life is very whimsical and unpredictable, they could have been college age, in college, where you really are just trying to like figure yourself out. And so the concept of trying to anticipate what the future holds is hard, because sometimes you just literally don't know. Like, even thinking about right now at 39 and pursuing partnership, I don't know if I would live in another like in certain other countries. Yeah. But I know at a foundational level, would I move for partnership? yes. If it was necessary to my relationship, if it was something that would grow us together, if it was something that would enhance our lives in a way that we've already talked about pre-marriage, understanding what those values are and the things that really matter to us, I would need to spend time talking through that with you in the dating phase. And I think we just sometimes waste so much time on the stuff that is so trivial. If I don't find out what your favorite color is until 6 years into being with you, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because what your favorite color is not necessarily going to make or break our relationship. But what you truly value, what are your absolute deal breakers, how long before you would feel really uncomfortable being apart from me, those are how we really need to spend more time when we're developing a relationship, when we're getting to know someone. I'm not saying your color don't matter to me, it does, but when we have been together for 25 years and something like I need to move to another country in order to make more money, to make our lifestyle more financially stable, you liking the color blue, it doesn't really matter. It can we survive me having to leave this household that I've been in with you now for, in their case, 2 years. They were married for 2 years before she left the home, the marital home. Can our relationship withstand 1 year living apart? Because that was the initial agreement. I'm going to go ahead for a year and see how it goes for a year. Can it even withstand that? Because that's a massive adjustment to be in a house with a person day in and day out. And then for 12 months, 365 days, 66 if it's a leap year, I don't wake up and go to bed next to you. That would be a hell, that alone is a hell of an adjustment.
Yeah.
So we need to at least be open to talking about it, to know if, like, could I do that for a year? For me, could I do it for a year? Yes. Seeing you 4 times in that year? No. So before we agree to me going away or you going away, what's the job going to be paying? What is our household income right now? How much money do we already have saved up? How much does it cost to travel between where you're considering going and where we currently live? Do we have enough income, or would we be making enough income for me to be able to see you twice a month? Because twice a month is better than 4 times a year for me.
Yeah.
At a minimum, I could see you twice a month. Okay. Like twice, maybe 2 days each trip. So I need to at least see you 4 days a month. If we can make that work, then yes.
Yeah.
Then yes, I could do it. But you got to break down all of those little parts of it before you say, yes, go do that. Or, nah, I don't think that's going to make sense for our family right now.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned everything that you said is completely spot on. And it kind of wraps up a bigger point that I'm thinking about. And it's no matter what age you are, when you're deciding this is somebody that I'm entering into a relationship with, especially a marriage, it's important to set couple goals. Like, I feel like a lot of people set their individual goals of what they may want to do in their career. And they talk about, oh, we would love kids, or we would love this, like kind of like a thing that's kind of out there, but not really tangible, not really real. Oh, well, what, love kids, or yeah, we would love a nice house and this, but not actually really getting into the couple goals. Because if you really decide, and first I'll say this, it takes being honest, number one, with yourself and with your partner about the type of life that you ultimately want to live. Because when you're setting your goals, you're talking about the life that you guys ultimately want to live. You're not talking about where you are right now. It's not even talking about where you're going to be 1 and 2 years, which is a possible thing. But you're first setting, where do we ultimately want to be for our relationship? What do we ultimately want to do? What do we want our life to look like? And then we start backtracking and saying everything that we're doing now is to lead up to the ultimate goal that we want to have for our relationship. So with that being said, if we set the goal for our relationship, what is this action that you're taking, whether that's moving, whether that's taking this job, how is it furthering us or getting us closer to the goal that we have established as a couple? Like, if you're telling me you're moving to a different country and you're making less money to pursue this or to do that, and we said in this time or this amount of time we want to have this type of house, or we want to have this type of lifestyle, how is that furthering us as a couple? I know that you may be able to justify, if you're considering how it helps benefit you, but how does it help benefit us and everything that we have talked about and what we want to establish?
Mm-hmm.
How, if we say we want kids, like how is that going to work? I need to explain. I need you to explain.
We have to talk about
we have to talk about
yes.
how this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your points was great too, because I know that with Bree and I, when we were house shopping, it was like, okay, what do we ultimately want for our lives? Mm-hmm. And Bree, we made a list of the things that were like non-negotiable that we want in a house from either side, and then we put things that would be nice, but we'd be okay if it didn't have it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Bree had said she wanted was a guest room. She was like, as an adult, I don't feel like an adult if I don't have a room when people want to come stay over for them to sleep on. Like I don't want them to have to sleep on the couch or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then we had to look at it and say, like, how many people visit? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not that many people that visit. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 decision right at this moment for guests who may come 3 or 4 times a year. Mm-hmm. When we look at our ultimate goal of what we want to accomplish, that's not getting us closer to that.
Yeah.
That's not our goal. Having a house to have, that doesn't make any sense. Like we want to be financially stable. We want to achieve this. We want to achieve that. So every action that we take in our relationship is how does it get us closer to the goal we ultimately want to accomplish? Mm-hmm. And then now I'm turning 30 this year, Bree's already 30. Mm-hmm. I'm like, 20s, we kind of messed around, figured things out. But now that we're 30, like this decade is going to be one of the most important decades of our lives, because after we hit the end of this decade, we might be 2-3 kids in and we're already 40. Yeah. So the room for exploration is really starting to become, and room for mistakes is really starting to become less and less, because that next decade will be moving into 40, 50.
Yeah.
That's an unpredictable decade. That's when people can start running into certain health problems. That's when, it's starting to get to the point to where you could have more life behind you than in front of you sometimes, like depending. So this decade is important. So we need to make sure that our goals together, we understand what they are, so that we can both work towards doing that. And if something isn't serving that, it may be serving your individual goal, but now we're together. If it's not serving our goal together, then it probably doesn't make sense. And you can't fault me for not being okay with the thing that doesn't get us closer. But sometimes you need a partner to hold you accountable to that, right? Because
sometimes all the time.
Yeah, all the time, because you'll make a decision that might be good for you, but it might not be something that works for your partner.
You're right.
So sometimes you need your partner to remind you, like, hey, remember, this is what we said we would do. Or like with the house thing, I'm telling, remember, we were trying to do this and we're trying to do that. It doesn't make sense to do that. That's why we're keeping this budget. That's why we're doing this thing. You need somebody to bring you back sometime and be like, yeah, you're right.
You're right. Yeah. And in partnership, I always use the word, I don't know if you're a regular real lover, you often hear me refer to relationships as partnerships. I think it's important to emphasize the fact that healthy relationships function like partnerships. You can have a relationship with food. You can have a relationship with the gym. You can have a relationship with inanimate things. I have a relationship with my phone, but we're not in partnership. Me and the phone are not in partnership. Me and the gym are not necessarily in partnership. But a human being that I made vows before God, or not, if you just made a commitment to spend life with this person, or go forward and do things in alignment, it is a partnership. It is a union. Therefore, the greater good of what we are doing, should trump our individual desires. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't sometimes get what you specifically want or what you specifically need, because we're still individuals within the union.
Yeah.
But like you said, nothing trumps what ultimately works for the peak. And the peak of us is us. Not me, not you. It is us. And even when people then introduce children, the children also become the peak of you, because they are what you and him, or him and her, or her, him and him, whatever. It is the peak of your creation, right? So then it becomes legacy. Then it becomes your generation. That is the peak of you. It makes me think about why, because I think a lot of people were like, why did Kanye and Kim name their child North? Like, it's such an interesting name, because it's clearly a direction. And when I understood it, North is the highest point. It represents togetherness. This was our first creation together. And so, yes, you have to consider all of these things. And a lot of times today, I do find that people who have been together for a really long time, when they look back at what they anchored their relationships on 15 years ago, 20 years ago, hell, even 5 years ago, it was all of these whimsical chemistry-based things, which you need those things. You do need the physical chemistry. You need the baselines of attraction. You need those things. But partnerships are arrangements to a degree, and they require goals and planning and talking.
Yeah.
If you want to have the best of it, you cannot just wait and hope that based on how much you really like each other and you really love each other and you're really turned on by each other, that things are just going to always work out. Nor can you fully plan for every single scenario. So that's where, to me, the chemistry sometimes fills the gap for those scenarios that you happen upon. But a lot of the things that break and shatter relationships are just things that you didn't spend enough time talking through before you got in partnership. You didn't spend enough time flushing through those ideas, talking through hypotheticals. Yes, at 25, I could say something could work for me, and come 45, it doesn't. But realistically, like you said, foundationally, fundamentally, we tend to be who we are once we are of a certain age, once we are of a certain maturity level.
Yeah.
And so I just implore people to spend more time when you are in that dating phase asking good questions, thoughtful questions, not just the closed-ended, cute, sexual ones. You like, what's your favorite position? It's like, okay, yes, that matters, right? It's cool. But I need to know what has a negative impact on your ability to sexually perform.
Yeah.
That's actually more important to me than do you like it from the back or missionary. Because if I don't know what turns you off sexually, emotionally, and all of those things, what position you like, it's not gonna matter, because we're not gonna be having sex anyway. You know, so it is doing what some people think is cheesy or corny, which is sometimes using it's plenty of websites out here that will give you 50 questions, 20 questions. It's card games. Skin Deep is one of my favorites. It's not an ad, but call us if you want us to promote your stuff. But I love those types of things because they make you think. They make you consider some things that, hell, even you haven't thought about that on your own. So it is important to just spend more time doing that. If you plan on doing life in tandem with someone, just living with somebody alone it can be challenging. You might like them, enjoy them, think they look good, all of those things, but day in and day out, you have to consistently consider an entire other human being, and that can be a lot. That can be a lot even when things are great. So imagine how cumbersome or overwhelming it could feel when things aren't good. You can't run. You can't just, I'm going back to my house. Yeah. Well, you can't do that no more because your house is their house. It's the same house.
You gotta confront it.
Yeah, you have to. So I just think in their scenario, it feels like this was not even considered.
Yeah.
This possibility was not even considered. And I hate the fact that he said he would, and then the year came and went.
Well, I think that speaks to a point of priorities. And I feel like that's an important thing that we all need that we should discuss when it comes to this scenario, but that we all need to take inventory of, and really order our priorities. What's most important? And like I always say too, is that sometimes, you don't know what's in a tea bag until it's placed in hot water. Is that sometimes you don't know what people's priorities are until they're forced to actually have to choose what their priorities are. And my thing is that when I am married, I'm telling my wife that you are my number one priority. And that's over my mom. That's over my job. My wife is my number one priority. And where people get this messed up is, it's like the sports argument. Oh, Michael Jordan better than LeBron. Just because somebody says something is number two does not mean that it's not important.
Right.
Some people are willing to give their life for number 1 through 4 priorities in their life.
Yes.
If it's my mom, if it's my wife, my kids, my brother and my mom, willing to die for all of them. You know what I'm saying? So just because something is a second priority
Right.
doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just if I'm faced with 1, 2, 3, and 4, this one will take priority over the others before anything else. And that's the thing with my wife. So I say that to say is that if you are in this situation and your wife is like, I'm completely uncomfortable, I don't want to be here, I don't like it, and I don't see where it's serving the overall goal that we have, then are you saying I'm choosing my friends, the area and stuff like that, and what I like to hang out in over your wife?
Right.
And if that's the case, then there'll probably be a different conversation that you guys are going to need to have, because what you're willing to say is that unless you're willing to fit into the life that I want, then it doesn't make sense for us to be together. And if that's where you are,
Yeah.
that's where you are. But like I said, that's grounds for a different conversation. But I would think that if you're married and your wife is saying, I'm uncomfortable here, I want to do this, I want to pursue that, then you should look at that and say like, all right, this is what my wife, now I need to really figure out what my priorities are. If my wife's my number one priority, then we need to find a way to work. One thing that works with women very well, men, is you create a plan. If she says she wants something and you say not right now, come up with a plan so that she knows when that could happen and what factors contribute to X, Y, and Z. If she wants to do this, you may say, we got to save X amount. And once we get there, then I will feel comfortable doing that. Okay, I know what is the criteria and what needs to be done. But if you're just like, yeah, we could do that. Sometimes no timeline, no plan. It's just going to be like, I feel like you're just saying that just to say that. There's no action being taken, and you know how uncomfortable I am. So that's the side of the man. But then on the other side with our anonymous, I think you also have to look into why do you want to move and really dig into it and figure out, because it may be valid and it may be a real reason why you're doing that. But also sometimes you may be doing something for a reason that's not really something of substance or substantial. You may feel like moving somewhere will give you some type of satisfaction or some type of validation, or you're comparing yourself to others and you see how other people are living, so you want to do that. I even seen it to where people that I know who are super successful in their business and all that stuff, and like they want to go back to college, and I'm like, why? But it's the rooms that they're in, the people that they're around have master's degrees or doctor this or doctor that. And even though you reach the same level or even higher level of success than them, you still feel somewhat inadequate because you don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes you could do that with your mindset of wanting to move somewhere or wanting to do something, because you're just trying to fulfill this thing that you feel like you need to fulfill, or check a box, or you feel like this could give you a better life than that. So really evaluate why you want to make a change. And if you can get the same, I know that you feel like he needs to move, but can you make where you are work? Or maybe it's a different area of the country that could give you the same things that you can get over there. I'm here to tell you, being in America and traveling internationally, like I sometimes envy a lot of times the places that I've been, because it's a more relaxed lifestyle. It's more cool, laid back. And I know everywhere has their issues, but just evaluate both sides of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that, she said that he has a great job in Jamaica, but her reason for moving was for financial stability. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it was for your financial stability. Nick, and that could have been for the couple. It could have been. I don't know, because we just don't have that detail. But I would venture to say that it was for your financial stability, because perhaps while he might have a good job and maybe that job helps to facilitate the life that you all have in Jamaica, which, the cost of living, I'm going to assume, and I probably should have looked this up, but I assume it's less in Jamaica than it is in the States, in any, for the most part of the States, because the living is just, it's different. It's easier, it's lighter, and it's just probably certain resources that you cannot get there. So it's like you have to, in certain parts, you have to farm your own things. You have to crop. Like you can't just pick up and have this plethora of
When they
Whole
say they
Foods,
out of
Safeway,
something,
Giant.
when they say they out of something, they out of something.
Yeah, they really out of it. Like it's not available in the country. It's just not here. You know what I mean? Like I had a friend who was married to someone who moved to Jamaica. She was from the States, but she moved to Jamaica. And a lot of the things that she had come accustomed to as an American born person, like they just don't have it in Jamaica. Like they don't have it. They never will have it. It's not sold there. So she had to, have things sourced in. And that costs a lot of money where you could just go to the grocery store here and just grab some grapes for $8. Where there you can't get them. So now you got to ship them in. So $8 plus the cost of shipping, plus the hassle of customs. Certain things might not even make it through that, all because you just wanted to eat a particular piece of fruit.
That's true even living in some places in the United States versus other places.
Yes, for sure. So it's like maybe what he makes, the money he makes works in Jamaica, right? Maybe it works in that country and you just have bigger, brighter ideas around your financial contributions to your household, but also how you all may grow financially. And with Dre and I being American born people, there may be some cultural nuances that we don't understand or don't know.
Very
just
true.
about Jamaican relationships, marriages, and how they're the expectations and things that are supposed to work. So y'all enlighten us in the comments if there are things that you can contribute to this conversation. But I agree with you that there may be a thing of where either from a personal desire, just as a woman that's growing and wanting to have your own, maybe wanting to feel like you're contributing to this world in a way that is more substantial than just quote unquote being a wife or just being someone's mom. As a woman, I understand that. I really, really do. However, I do think that once you enter into partnership, especially a legal marriage, it is like, how do we make this work for us? Like, what do these dynamics look like for us? Can your husband, with whatever his great job is in Jamaica, can he actually transfer that to the States? Is whatever his industry is as successful here as it would be there? Does he have another skill set if it's not? Like a skill set that doesn't require education, that if he came over here, he could just continue on in that same ability to contribute? Don't know, but this is something that could be making him hesitant to make the jump. I think it was a little, I don't know the right word for it, but I do think it sucks that you gave your word that you would follow in a year if things were fine, and seemingly things were fine from her reasoning for going.
Yeah.
And then come a year, you're like, nah. It's like, what is the conversation that happened at year one that has now stretched this across 6 years, not even a year and a half, not even 2 years? You all have been living apart as a married couple longer than you live together as a married couple. You were together for 17 years, but you got married and lived together for 2 and have lived apart for 6. You're managing 2 different households. It's bills and things in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And you got a whole separate household in America. Like, it's no way that this is what you all plan to be living in for this long. And I just am, I think, just shocked that you have stretched this so far beyond that first year. I think that's so crazy.
Yeah, I think this is a hard situation because although they are married and I'm sure they do love each other, I always say that sometimes as humans we're not as smart as we think we are, and from a mental standpoint, our brains operate in a way to where although we are very smart, it can be certain situations can make us feel and act and behave in a certain manner and have a certain way of thinking. And I say that to say is that the reality is that if you were around something for a long time, there could you could feel like you have a certain level of dependency or feel like you need to rely on something.
Yeah.
And which is normal. That's one thing we talked about last week's episode with DC Young Fly. Like part of that tragedy is that person not being around no more, the responsibilities, the things they did, like that's now disrupting kind of your everyday life. And you now have to adjust to what does life like that look like.
Yeah.
But the more you start to phase out that person in your life, and you realize that in order to do the things that I want to do, live life, have fun, this person isn't necessarily necessary in order for me to achieve that, then the mindset towards that person would change.
Yeah.
Like if you said that you're Jamaican born, y'all were high school sweethearts, and in 2017 you moved. Now for that period of time, he has been in Jamaica, only seeing you 4 times a year. And maybe at a certain point, it's like, I love the woman. I can't live without her. She's doing this for me. She's the one who cooks and do this while I do this in the household. But now I'm living a life on my own. Now I'm finding a way to eat on my own for years. Now I'm finding a way when you're not here to go out and have fun and still enjoy myself and make sure my days are full of light and joy. Now I'm finding all these things to do and to fulfill me outside of you. So at first, when I wasn't thinking about it, I didn't know how I would feel. Yes, like, of course I'm going to move with you. I can't imagine not doing this without you. But now that I've been here for a little while and I'm living life without you, I'm realizing I kind of like it.
I kind of like it.
Like, I kind of like it here, and I'm enjoying myself and I feel good about it. So, I would prefer if you moved here. Now I feel more established. And the biggest thing that I know when Bree and I talked about even moving to a different area or doing a different state is like, she's like, I have to start over. I have to find new friends and I have to do all these different things. I got to find my new spot that I like coffee, and I got to find my new spot where I like, and that's a thing that you can do, but you sometimes will be reluctant to do
like,
it.
Do you really
is this the only way? You know what I mean? And I think that that's possible, that where there is space in the relationship, unfortunately, that thing can get filled with other things. And only seeing him 4 times a year, and I don't know how long those visits are, unless they are 2-month visits or something like that. But 4 times a year, there's a lot of void in there.
A lot of it.
A lot of void, especially from a physical standpoint, an intimacy standpoint. I don't care how close you are, how great the phone conversations are. Like, there's certain things that you just cannot do
if you are apart.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It made me start to look at. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then one last thing. You talking about financial stability. He got a good job. You got a good job. 4 times a year, like, how financially stable are you guys to where, I don't know if the ticket is just too much before, if we both doing good financially, if I'm doing good financially and my woman is over there, we need to do more of this. Like,
and like you said, not unless those visits are extended trips. They're 30 days at a time. Maybe, your job is something flexible where you can work from home, but you can't work from a different country. It's different rules and different things. I get all of that. But, this made me like really look at like how many people do this. I have a friend who she's like, as much as I want marriage and I think that that's what I want for my life, I think at this point I would want to be with someone but not live with them. Like, I would want to have a man and have a husband, but I want us to have 2 different houses. And I was like,
interesting.
I wonder how many people do this. So I got to digging, I got to Googling, and I found this article on marriage.com that says that about 4 million married couples live this way. And it's actually a phrase for it, living apart together, often called LAT. And it represents less than 3% of marriages, or people who either at some point they lived together and decided to migrate into this design, or they've always lived apart, but they've, maintained 2 different households.
Interesting.
It does say though that it recently spiked because of the pandemic. And that was such a interesting takeaway that I was like, I can see that, because we talked about this on a different episode. You kind of used your example with you and Bree, where you guys were already working together because you're in business together. You also are, sometimes working from home. And sometimes that was just a choice. Like, I'm here because I want to be in here. But then when the pandemic hit, it's like, oh, we actually like have to be in here. But for a lot of other people who we leave the house every day to go to work, right? So I spend very little time with this person in general. And they then realize through the pandemic that I don't know if I actually like you this much, because now I'm with you
All the
like
time.
all day long, like all day long. And so a lot of people started to explore this dynamic because they were like, yeah, while I love you and I don't want a divorce or anything, I want to feel like I am alone way more than I do when you're here. And so while or, living apart together is not a dynamic that could work for me, there are millions of couples that actually live like this, and they find it to be really beneficial for their lives.
I can see that. I mean, because it's the lat term and living together, living apart together is, a little new for me. I couldn't see myself doing that, but I do understand the need for wanting to have space and your own space. And people do that who also live together. They might buy a house. That's where man caves come from. That's where all the I need space
sheds.
Apart. She sheds. Never heard that, but that is cute. No,
it was a commercial.
She sheds. Interesting. But that's why people create those spaces, because I need a space that's mine, that makes me feel like apart from this. That's my oasis to be able to enjoy the things that I want to enjoy, that I can design how I want. I can hang the picture that I want. Like, it gives me some type of freedom within my own home. So I can get the concept of why people would have that mindset. I don't think I could do it. But there are people out there who can. And for me, it's just living with my wife, the things that, having somebody in the house. I argued about this a long time ago, and it was funny. And I look back at the comment of my clip where I talk about women make messes too. And a lot of the common comments from the women were, the issue is that we had to clean our mess and your mess too.
Yes.
That's true sometimes. And that is a great perk.
And with that being said, that's why I need you in this house with me, baby. That's
not the only reason.
Not only, but I like that one.
But that is a nice perk.
It's a nice fringe benefit.
Like, when you live by yourself, it's like, if that thing is there on the coffee table, it ain't moving or going nowhere unless you move it.
That's right. That's
if them dishes in the sink, them things ain't getting cleaned or washed unless you do it.
That's it.
But when you with somebody else in the house, they'll do it. And you come back and be like, oh, wow,
look
that's
at
great.
You.
But I would imagine with this is that this is probably common amongst a lot of older couples as well.
Yes.
Because you kind of have your life already established. You kind of know what you want out of a situation. You like, this is what I need. This is what I don't need. I was already living on my own already. Like, I have my things established. I'm good. I would just like to operate this way. So I could see that definitely once you've been through the ringer. Maybe you've been divorced once before. Like, you just understand what you want.
Yes.
And you're like, all right, I'm good. I know what I want. And the rest, we're good. Are you okay with living that way?
Yeah. The first time I think I saw something like in real life similar to this was with my with one set of my grandparents. At a point, they didn't live apart, right? They lived in the same house, but they split the rooms. Like, my grandmother stayed in the main room and in the primary bedroom, and then my grandfather eventually moved to the back room, different bedroom.
I've seen that too.
Yes. And
she said it was because of snoring though.
I could listen. Whoo, my ex. Oh my gosh.
There, grizzly.
What? the knocking and the nudging and the hold his nose and the turn him on his side. It just, as some nights it didn't work, and I had to literally leave the room. And bless his heart, he would see me out because we had a 2-bedroom like loft.
Yeah.
But the second bedroom was set up more like a closet and an office, so it didn't have a bed in it. Man, I would be on that couch. I would be like, I can't do it, because one, I couldn't put him out. Although he was the one that was like snoring, he was so peacefully sleeping that I'm like, clearly I'm awake. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the room. But he would be so upset when he would see me on the couch in the morning, like, babe, you should not be leaving the bed. You are not the one that is that is being disturbed. You need to wake me up and put me out the room. And I'm like, I can't. I'm
Yeah,
already up.
yeah,
I'm up. So I might as well leave. You sleeping peacefully, baby. But my grandparents, I think, didn't do that until they had been married for, oh goodness, like 40 years.
Mm.
40, I mean, they have been together so long, and even their romance and all of those things, they have really subsided. I remember very little of them being really romantic when I was a little girl. By the time I was a preteen and definitely a teenager, they were, living in these two different rooms, and their household was just functioning kind of as per usual. They were much more focused on being grandparents and individuals than they were being loving romantic partners.
Yeah.
I cannot speak for what I would do in my marriage at 30, 40, 50 years in when it comes to that type of dynamic. I just don't know. And I don't think any of us can know. I would like to believe that at 50 years in, I still want to sleep in the bed next to you. You know what I mean? Even if we're not sexually active anymore, even if, it's not all lovey-dovey, super duper like it was when we were in our 20s or 30s or whatever, but I still would feel like I would want to lay next to you every night. Again, even if we're not cuddling or we're not doing any of that stuff. But I don't know. And I think what ultimately happens is something that I say a lot, is that we all have to design the relationships that work for us, the partnerships that work for us. While that doesn't work for me, clearly doesn't work for you, and most certainly doesn't work for our anonymous writer, it does work for some people. And if it works for you, then great, but if this is really not a design that is working for you, you certainly don't want to let your relationship start morphing towards that, because it is then going to just become, you're not living apart together. You're living apart separated. You're living apart divorced. You're living apart broken up. And if that is what it's going to be, then you just need to go ahead on and get that process going, because I just don't think, like, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I could not have lived apart from my husband for 6 years comfortably.
Yeah.
Something would have had to have given well beyond this. And I know I used the word crazy, and sometimes people take offense to that. So I want to clarify that you're not crazy for my mindset, for what I will. Yeah, the circumstance would be too much for me. Like, I feel like my skin would hurt, literally, like my body would hurt. I wouldn't even be a good contribution to my great job in the States if I am having to not be with you. Because like you said, it's just certain things we cannot do across the phone. We cannot do across computers and FaceTimes. And I'm not talking about sex.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that being in your embrace. To only touch your husband 4 times a year, man, nah. It's some days I just want to sit across the room from you. We don't even gotta be touching.
Because when we say this, we're making the assumption that you are monogamous and you're in a committed relationship, so you're not doing anything with anybody else or filling that void anywhere else. So yeah, it's tough. And
I want to make you bacon. Like, I don't want to make bacon with you on FaceTime. I want to,
or even watching movies or doing stuff. It's just fun to,
yeah.
Like, I love when Brie and I get wrapped into like a series together, like, and we just discussing it, talking about it. Like, that's just so fun, because it's like reading a book with a person or something like that. It's just fun to be in their presence and discussing it and enjoying it, and your legs intertwined while y'all just laying there. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Just
the head on your shoulder. Yeah. It's the wallow. Look, while we watching a movie, I'm just putting my head on your chest, listen to your heartbeat. I love him. Like, it's those little things, or it's just the practical stuff. It's the help.
Yeah.
It's the help around the house. It's the help with the bills. We can't even really necessarily fully combine our incomes to grow our lives, because your income is likely dedicated to the household you live in, and mine is dedicated to the household that I live in. So, I feel so bad that this has gotten to this place. And if you are not new here, that Dre and I absolutely never tell people who are married that they should get a divorce. That's just too heavy of a decision.
Yeah.
Too personal of a decision. But I want to ask you this question. I want to know, really from a man's perspective, especially a man who values the concept of leadership, and especially from like the man leads, right? Do you feel like, although he was the one that said he would follow her, do you think that the gender is playing a part in this? That maybe he feels like, I'm not going to follow you to the States because I'm the man, and if anything, you should come back. Do you think gender should be playing a part in this decision?
I don't think gender should play a part ever in that decision. I think in this decision, I don't think gender is playing a part. I mean, there may be a certain level of ego or something like that that goes along with it, and men typically have a bigger ego than women. But I think that from this standpoint, it might just be like, this is home. Like, this is where we're from. Like, I'm not asking you to leave your home. I'm asking you just to come back home where you always have been and where we always have been. And then I have now created a life for myself that I'm doing well and being successful in this. So I don't think it's like a male trip, like ego trip in that sense. I think that's more his perspective. But when it comes to these decisions, should like the man make the decision, or let's say even somebody who has the higher income or anything like that? No, I think it just depends on a lot of different factors. Like, even when I do things and take on opportunities, Bree always asks me, is like, do you want to do it? Like, don't feel like you have to do something for me and then you're miserable, but you're doing it for me. Like, I'm taking this job over here and doing this to provide for you because you told me you want X, Y, and Z. Well, I also don't want a husband who hates what he's doing and I got to deal with that every day either.
Right.
So it's like income, like, because I feel like that's one of the decisions that people factor in when they're moving somewhere. Oh, I'll make more money here, but it's like, will you be happy there?
Right.
That should be something that you consider. And then if it's like, okay, if you're going to do this, what's the exit plan? If we know this isn't where you ultimately want to be, or we're saving up to do X, Y, and Z, like, what's the exit plan out of this situation? But yeah, you being a man, I think that there's a certain level of trust that my wife has. But like I said, with that, there's a certain level of responsibility with leadership. There has to be a plan, and I have to stick to the plan and the criteria of that plan, because if I don't come through with the things that I said I would do, like in this situation, a man say he will move, then I lose credibility. And I don't want to lose any stock or credibility in my relationship. And when it comes to my wife trusting me, because I'm going to need her at points to believe me, to understand me, to trust me, what I'm saying. So I need to make sure if I'm saying I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I say that I'm going to move in a year, that I do it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's such a sticking point for me in this scenario, is that he said he would and then he didn't. I think it's a miss on his part, and I think at a basic level he should have just done what he said he was going to do. If it didn't work out, then again you stuck to the plan. That was the plan that was discussed before she departed your home. If it didn't work, or you got there and it was not comfortable, you got there and the financial stability that you thought you were having, because things are more expensive in this country, you weren't having it. You have all these things to fall back on and say, well, babe, we went with the plan. It's not working. We are not growing our lives. We are not seeing the financial success we thought we would. We are not closer. Although we're physically closer, we're actually emotionally more distant. I'm unhappy here because I haven't been able to land a job that is fulfilling to me. I walked away from one in our hometown. I do miss my family. You miss your family. We struggle to make friends because people think that's just easy to do sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Or you make acquaintances, but they don't form into friendships.
Yeah.
And you need like good friendships in your life. So the plan can become deviated because it just isn't working out. And I really just wish that he would have just stuck with the plan, because had he stuck with the plan and just went, it's possible that he could have ultimately still winded up going back to Jamaica with his wife in tow, that we're going to go back. And I think, like I said, I'm reading between the lines that I think a big part of this is for her own desire to be a successful woman, and and earn income and all of those things, and y'all not gonna make me feel like that's a bad thing in this here world that we live in today. Everybody gets to determine what's important to them, and if a woman wants to make money to feel that makes her feel good, that's totally okay. Whatever she wants to do, that's totally okay. But I think he should also understand that and not just lean into the, well, I make good money in Jamaica. Well, that's great. But your wife is saying that she needs to also feel that too. She needs to feel that type of feeling. And so there has to be some sort of happy medium here. Maybe it is you figuring out, well, babe, what do you want to do? I know you want to make your own money, but ultimately, how? How do you really, if you could dream up a dream of how you would earn money, how would that, what would that look like? And then you create a plan for you all to ultimately get there. You might not get that in 2 years. You say you want to, I don't know, open up a healthcare facility. We won't have money to open up a business right now, but let's figure out jobs that we can get and how much of those incomes can we put away for us to eventually get your healthcare facility. It is always being in consideration of what your partner needs to feel fulfilled and happy, and then you all figuring out again how to bring that to a us point, to a partnership point.
Yeah.
And we work on that together. So
no, I completely agree.
It's just, this is tough.
And I think to answer your final question about what you guys should do, we say it all the time. It just comes down to having a conversation.
Lots of them.
But the thing that is tough about this, which Rhonda and I never recommend divorce or anything like that, because that's a decision that you have to make. But living in a different country is a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big decision. And finding a happy middle ground may not be something that you guys could ultimately get to, because if somebody that's not moving to a different city in the same country, that's a big jump. That's a lot of paperwork possibly you have to do.
There's a citizenship.
There's a citizen, like there's a lot of things that you're talking about doing or changing with somebody's lifestyle. Like if somebody's like, if I got to get back home, that's just a lot more challenging and a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult. So that's something that you guys really have to sit down and be like, if you're saying that you want to stay in the United States, that's what you want, and there you don't see any other alternative outside of that, then you have to, that's when I said you're placing that hot water, and that's just going to make you determine what your priorities actually are.
Yeah.
And it's going to do the same for him. If you're saying, I do not want to move back to Jamaica, I want to stay in the U.S. and work my job. He's saying, I want to stay in Jamaica, I don't want to go to the U.S. at all. Yeah, then you're trying to figure out now, what's the priority? Is it my lifestyle and what I ultimately want to do, or is it this person?
Yeah.
And being completely honest, you're already not seeing each other a lot.
Yeah, I throw this microphone over.
So the adjustment could be a lot easier from a day-to-day, not emotional, because y'all been together and known each other for a long time, but the day-to-day adjustment could be a lot easier than other people who would be in a situation where they are separating or are divorcing. But maybe it's that. Sometimes people, you do a separation and you go through that, see how you feel. And then if for whatever reason there's a change or there's a desire to revisit and what could work, then maybe that's something. But moving, there's a lot of things that you could work through and find middle grounds on, but living in two separate countries is just very, very challenging to find a middle ground if you both want to stay in the countries that you're in.
Right.
And then you're talking about having a family.
Yeah, like she says, you can't see a family dynamic like this.
No.
You can't. It made me think about the rapper Toby and Wigwe. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. He has a wife and he has small children, and he was recently asked to participate or be a character in like the Transformers movie that I think they're like filming now. And this is like one of the biggest opportunities of his career. But if you know anything about him, if you follow him, you know that he's a family man. He's super passionate about being married and being a father. He incorporates his family into his performances, into his tours. Like you see him, you see them. He's that guy. And he basically said, the filming was away from their home and all of that. And he said, listen, as much as I would want it, it's probably one of the biggest checks he's ever going to see in his career. He was like, I have to be able to bring my family. I have to be able to literally bring my wife and our kids. I'm not going to do this dynamic of I'm here working and I'm going to go back and forth, which is nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that if that's what works for you. But he was super clear that that's not going to work for me. And so if you want me, I come with them. And they said, no problem. No problem. Mm-hmm. Whatever you need. If that's a house for 6 months, we'll put that in your contract. If that's more money so that you can get a rental home or something to accommodate them for however long it's going to take you to film, that's what we'll do. That is, to me, a man that very clearly understands his priority, that while I want to grow my career, my family comes first, and I'll turn down a job every day if I can't bring my family with me. That could be not just what he needs. That's also just potentially what his wife needs. I can't be away from you raising these 3 small children alone for an extended period of time. I could, but I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I want our kids to see you as much as possible. And so I agree with Dre. As always, it's communication, it's communication, it's communication. I sincerely wish you all the best, and I absolutely need an update on where this winds up going. I really hope that you guys can work it out, but I think you have gone so long with living like this, that hell, moving back together might be like, let's not do that. You a whole different person after 5 or 6 years.
For sure.
But thank you for writing in anonymous.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to write in, please visit us at relationshiprestored.com. Click the contact button. You can write into our show and for the girls. Follow me on social media, Ronnie Cates.
That is Dre Smith.
And Relationship Restored. We'll see you next week.